Hello and welcome to Only Stupid Answers. My name is Sam Basher. Joining me today, Mr. DJ Woldrich.
Hello.
Miss Roxy Stryer.
Hello.
Hope you're enjoying us. Check out this Doom Patrol review. Pretty fun. We're talking about episode 104, Cult Patrol. Willoughby Kipling, played by Mark Sheppard, conscripts the Doom Patrol into helping him avert the end of the world by stopping a nihilistic cult. Boy, howdy, this was a fun episode for us. If you are subscribed to the DC Universe app, good for you, because, man, this show's one heck of a ride. And if you haven't subscribed yet, maybe consider it, because this episode was all a whole mixed bag of a lot of fun and weird magic. I had a blast. So This is a spoiler-filled review. You can check out, actually, our spoiler-free thoughts on it on Super TV Showdown, which you can click up here, right there. Or at the end of the episode, you can click right there.
You got it.
Boom.
Got your nose.
At the end of the episode,
It's going to be
over
an
there.
episode. It's going to be right there.
There you go. Boom. But let's go ahead and kick it off with DJ. What do you think of this episode?
For me personally, huge fan. I was a huge fan because I haven't had a chance to read Grant Morrison's run on Doom Patrol, but I will say that this is the most Grant Morrissey episode of TV I think I've ever watched in anything, because it does the classic where there's just ideas flying right and left. This is a spoiler review, so if you haven't watched the episode, go watch it. But where there's ghost cities, giant clown people, faceless bad guys that are made of dead skin cells and letters that have never been sent.
Loved it.
There's just so many and it's just little ideas just being thrown right and left, and you could write a whole story, like, wait, a whole ghost city? Like, well, I just stop right there.
Maybe?
It's in a snow globe, maybe.
There's
so many
question mark. Guy's a book.
There's a floating genie horse head that sings the future, and also a horse with no name. It goes deep into chaos magic, which, if I remember correctly, is something Grant Morrison actually practices.
Wow.
Well, he did an interview with Kevin Smith that actually there's 2 episodes of Fat Man and Batman that are interviewed with Grant Morrison that actually mean a lot to me, and they go into detail about everything. And he talks a little bit about chaos magic, and if I'm not doing it justice, forgive me, but it's kind of like the idea of capturing the energy of an idea. So the idea being, the ancient Greeks when they worshipped Hermes, it wasn't just a guy with winged feet running through the sky. It was the idea of capturing speed and information and kind of channeling that energy. So if you were going to do that in chaos magic, you were trying to capture the idea of speed, like fill yourself with energy. Energy would be, you'd be drinking caffeinated drinks like Red Bull, you'd be reading Flash comics, you'd be listening to punk music, stuff that embodies that, so it puts you in the right mind state that you can channel that energy.
Is that you?
What?
Is that you when you're working on your comic books?
I mean, it's not. I mean, I do. For me, it's research. I'm watching stuff that informs what I'm writing and stuff like that. I'm listening to music. So like, I've been writing something recently. I've been listening to a lot of Vince Staples, and I've been whatever. You know what I mean? You try to capture in that, but that's the idea. And so there's a lot of, like, what is it? Janis Joplin's dental floss and the ashes of Leonardo DiCaprio. A lot of that, like
Da Vinci,
Leonardo DiCaprio.
Leonardo
DiCaprio. He's dead in the Doom Patrol universe. No, Leonardo da Vinci's ashes, like capturing the energy of stuff, and just sriracha on rosary beads, and it's like, hell yeah, just fucking do it up, man. I'm all about it. Let's throw up an asset of Willoughby Kipling.
Oh, what a kind of gross, sleepy man he is.
And
I love him. Mark Sheppard does a great job. I know he's Crowley on Supernatural. It's really hard not to think of Supernatural. Supernatural was like screaming in my brain as soon as, like, oh, he's a magic character too. Oh God, all right. So I'm not a Supernatural fan, but I'm just he's popular on that show.
If you've ever caught it on TV, and it's on a lot of TVs all over the world, you've seen this guy.
A lot of
like its second or third season.
A lot of it's just starting out. I think it's going to do pretty well.
It's going to do okay.
I was so excited that, like, we were talking about this off camera, but I really like that compared, because I'm just going to compare it to Titans because it's the only other DC Universe live action show that we have.
Yeah.
The way Titans was flowing, we would have main cast coming together, doing things together. Cool, love it. Then Dick Grayson's like, oh, but you know what? I'm actually done with this. Poo-poo this. Don't like any of you. I'm gonna go hang out with a way cooler character somewhere else. And it's like this, like Donna Troy. Like, love meeting Donna Troy, but it felt like the main plot stops to go tell this story and build out our universe. But instead, in this episode, it's like, hey, since Mr. Nobody kind of sucked the Chief into Nowhere Zone, we don't know in one of the 37 other known dimensions that are in the DC multiverse.
Interesting they didn't pull the 52 like the Flash show.
I think they were like, we got a timeout on that one. There's too many. We can't keep saying that same joke. But I like this idea of making it more of like a procedural show where they go out and they help out the best they can, which is not very good. And they're able to work with Willoughby Kipling in another end of the world scenario. It feels very much the way a comic book works. If you have like a long run where it's like, oh, someone else is showing up, like a Superman or a Batman showing up for a couple issues to solve their crime, and now they're gonna go do something else. I was on board with that. But Roxy, how did you feel about this?
Regarding what you just said, what I realized about Titans looking back is that probably my 3 favorite episodes were the 2 Hawk and Dove episodes and the Doom Patrol episode, which means that the part about Titans that I'm not particularly loving
is the plot.
is the Titans part of Titans. Although the show did grow on me towards the end for sure. And so I actually enjoyed the way that Titans did that. It was weird for TV. You don't see that often where you're just like, okay, I know that we're only 2 episodes in, but peace out because we are going to spend this episode with Hawk and Dove. Goodbye. We're just not checking in on you guys.
I was more on board with the Hawk and Dove episodes because it was just like, hey, let's see what they're up to, and hopefully that comes back to the main plot. It was more the Dick Grayson ones where I'm like, oh, God, he doesn't want to do his job.
Right, right. I totally get what you're saying. But if in this world we wanted to do a Hawk and Dove situation, I would have been more down with it because I think that that's ballsy as hell and something that only these streaming services are willing to take risks on, and why I loved it over there. This episode felt to me like it was and I don't like to yuck other people's yums. I try to be a pretty positive person on a lot of these shows.
Great saying, by the way.
Thank you. But this episode was not for me. And I was so bummed about it because I was starting to think last week, I don't know if this show will have a single episode this season I don't like because I love these characters. And as long as I'm loving these characters, what really can they throw at me that I'm not into? And then this episode happened, and I was like, oh, this.
You challenged them.
I did. And if, in all fairness to them, challenge accepted. And then that's what they did. I was bothered by the characters in this episode. I no longer felt for them. It was annoying. And maybe that was a personal place that I was in. But when I was watching, what's British Jane's name?
Penny
Worthington or whatever
they
it
call
was.
him Oliver Twist.
Yeah.
I thought that was a good dig.
I thought that
Let's call him Oliver Twist for this episode.
Yeah.
And nothing against Diana Guerrera, but that character I wanted to throw through a window. And so we spent a lot of time with her.
I thought she was funny.
And that was really frustrating for me from even the beginning when it's like she goes with that, when he's like, all right, let's get him. And she's already on their side. And it's like, what just happened? That was bothersome to me. And then it felt to me like the episodes of Legion that I disliked the most, which is where we were weird to be weird, not weird because that's the world that we live in. This was that for me.
Penny farthing.
Penny farthing.
Penny farthing. That's what it is.
So
from the comics too.
Yeah.
That was
Unsurprising.
super duper frustrating. Like as you were talking, DJ, everything you named as a positive, I was like,
Not for you.
And those things existed, and they were definitely taking swings for the fences. But with the horse situation, that song was long. We were watching that for a really long time.
You're plotting out the whole future.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
got a lot
of
runway with
but
that.
then when we ended with the horse with no name, that's what it transitioned into. I was just thinking, why? Why did we just do that? So this whole episode just had me continuing to question, why are we spending time on this? Because we, like you said, Sam, I think this was in our spoiler free, we aren't getting to Chief yet because that would make this not be long enough.
Also, we can't afford to have Timothy Dalton in that much of the episode.
Yes, so this is what we're giving you instead, and I didn't want this instead.
We did get some Chief, though.
We did.
Before we get into that, I will say something that didn't quite click as much for me is whenever the characters like Jane is pissed off at Robotman for whatever reason.
I told you guys about this last week.
Yeah, you did.
You were right.
She gave him that look, and
we were both confused
brief.
because it doesn't really make sense.
It doesn't make sense.
And then Cyborg is sidelining Rita after they had a heart-to-heart, which also doesn't really track for me. Those stuff I was like, I don't know. But all the other like this weird wild roller coaster ride was super cool to me. But we get to see a little bit more of the mystery surrounding Negative Man. I don't know if we learn anything.
I will. The only thing I'll say about the Crazy Jane and Robot Man like argument, the problem that she had with him, is that when you kind of boil it down to who these people are, they've just been living in a mansion, not doing anything. She has her problems that she needs to work through, and her argument of Hammerhead exists for a reason. She's been through something that we don't know. We get little hints of it that Hammerhead got too worked up, and now Hammerhead's not allowed to come out. That's why Penny comes out instead. The idea that Hammerhead's not okay with the Robot Man is because he's starting to look at him as a father figure, and you realize that he might be as messed up as she is. She doesn't want to associate with that. She wants to get away from that part of herself because she doesn't. I'm guessing maybe deep down, Crazy Jane doesn't like Hammerhead, but Hammerhead has a purpose.
Yeah.
Why would he act that way?
That's actually a really good explanation of that.
Because if it's a father
sense.
figure, you would want that father figure to be everything that you're not.
Yeah.
It makes more sense, but I haven't spent enough time with any of Jane's characters to be on board with that. I need more about, and we are getting glimpses of it, and in this episode we got more about the kind of abuse and torture and whatever it was that she came up with, and why this has happened. But I feel like it's all very vague, and I don't know what's going on with her. So for her I don't know enough about Hammerhead. I don't know enough about Penny. I don't know enough about these 64 identities to be like, yeah, that one will be mad about this. But now they're all mad about this? Because that doesn't make sense to me.
What do you mean you say they're all mad about?
All 64 are all of her personalities mad about what he's done?
That wasn't the impression I got.
I got that Hammerhead was upset about it.
But then why is Penny upset?
I don't think Penny was upset. She's just a little coward.
Yeah, she's a which they explain is like she's just a character with a stutter. And a penny farthing is the name of those bicycles from the like 1800s with the big wheel in the front.
There you go.
It's a fun fact. Thanks, Wikipedia. Hopefully that's true.
Elasti-Girls are also my favorite, and I felt like she was vastly underutilized in this episode.
I do like that we start to get to see. I actually like this arc they're setting up for her, where she does have powers that, once she learns to control whatever's going on with her body, she will be able to use them in a way similar to her powers in the comic.
Which are
Elasti. In the comics, typically it's just growing big.
Yeah,
this one, it's
big,
more
small.
like it's more like a elongated man type situation where she's able to like
Plus Blob.
But the Blob is
worst case scenario
Plus
Blob.
oatmeal. Legit.
But she's able to like
oatmeal in a water balloon.
She's able to use it as a stretching ability, and I like that she was able to prove, even though I didn't quite understand why Vic was so specifically sidelining her, prove herself to be part of the field team, as it were.
Go on.
I did like him in this episode. I'm loving, the more I'm seeing from him, the more I feel like I can't wait to watch this entire universe because of what Cyborg represents in this universe and what he wants and where he is in life.
I love that he has an interface that he needs to interact with that basically keeps everything organized so he's not totally overwhelmed. Like a big part of the Justice League movie, when they introduced Cyborg and kind of explored him, is that he's he's connected to the internet all the time and all technology, and it's kind of a nightmare. And in this, it's like, it's not that bad. It's bad what happened to him, and it's bad. Probably it wouldn't be fun being him, but it's okay. He doesn't totally hate himself.
Yeah.
And I like his interactions with Grid, whatever that is. It doesn't have a personality. It doesn't talk to him, but it's just how he can understand what he is which I'm super excited. Hopefully we get to that. This season you don't need to, but eventually, because Grid's a fun idea. But also his whole, like, we got to see him with a weapon. He apparently has a lot of weapons inside of him, which is super cool.
Man, when he's
like Inspector Gadget, but like cooler.
When he pulls out the sonic
Swiss
hand
Army knife.
and Willoughby pulls out the flaming sword, I'm like, this is everything.
Yeah.
This is everything.
Yeah.
I love this. Like, this is amazing.
Shout out to Willoughby with the cigarette that makes a portal. Super cool.
That was really cool. And then putting it out on the ground right before the mom can jump through she's baked the cake. We can't get her through it. I loved him. Willoughby. And I haven't said that. I want to address the couple things that I did like about this episode.
There you go.
That was just the right level of weird for me. Like, I'm going to slit your dad's throat after I've baked this cake because he's trying to warn you, and this is the portal, and this is the cigarette, and this is how we're coming through. That was, to me, the right level of Doom Patrol-ness. It was the other weird-ish that bothered me, but I thought that the actress that played the mom was creepy as shit. Mm-hmm. I want to see her in everything. Mm-hmm. Like, she should be in the next Get Out, in Us, as just like that like a crazy woman because she
Yeah.
just
Stepfordy
her
kinda.
facial expression. Yes, that woman should book because she freaked me out in 15 seconds, and I
Yeah.
was like, well, damn.
I loved, just a side note on that really quick, I love that they're like, we got to go get the kid. And all it is 2 seconds. Doom Patrol walks into a portal, comes right back. Cool, we got the kid. Like, I love
So
that.
you need to close the door right now.
Yeah.
Close the door, but also that's not the problem. It's going to get a million times worse after you get the
Yeah, because
kid.
normally that's the arc of the episode. We need to get the kid.
Yeah,
No.
because
Yeah.
this is going to be a two-parter based on
Yes.
the ending, and I'm like that. The first part could have just been trying to get out of the house, and the house becomes like, if you guys are familiar with the Twilight Zone episode where it's like the kid who sends people to the cornfield, like where it's
Yeah.
like it's other dimension-y and that you can change reality. Because we kind of get that a little bit in this,
Yes.
but I do like that it's like we get the kid, we get to deal with the kid with the Doom Patrol one-on-one, him talking to Negative Man, him talking to Rita mostly.
Yeah.
I was totally on board with all
But
of
going
that.
back to Willoughby, watching it was like, wow, I can't believe that when this app launched, they didn't launch with bringing back Constantine from NBC or a Hellblazer show, or there's probably something. There's probably a reason, like maybe they deal with NBC or whatever. But it's
that's
like
happening right now.
that character would thrive in the DC universe app. Like that show could be the show that it wanted to be on this app, and Matt Ryan would do a good job, especially if you let him be scruffy like Mark Sheppard here.
Do you know that Constantine they're talking about bringing back? I think to possibly this app.
They
Amazing.
should. They
Yeah,
should. They
that-
want, because the fan base was so passionate.
Hashtag save Constantine.
Yeah, they should. They should.
And also have him meet Willoughby, depending on how he lasts over the next couple, like for this season. I would like to see these two people, like, because it's also like Matt Ryan. He does like weird magic, but it's like Willoughby does the weirdest magic I've ever seen.
Yes.
the dead skin cells and pieces of or letters that are never sent. Like that's such a cool way to have throwaway villains. It's not like amorphous blobs, kind of like in Suicide Squad, where it's like I don't really know what's
This
happening.
is-
Yeah. And it also
Ink maybe.
I like the aspect of him that not that he's super similar to Loki, but that like we trust you, and then oh right, we're so not supposed to trust you because I'm Cyborg and you're about to throw me to the wolves.
Yeah,
Right? And
he's not a good person.
not a good person,
No.
but I love that. But then he also is useful
Mm-hmm.
at times, and you have to work with him, but
Yeah.
then you have to not.
He's the one that's able to like make the tough calls, but at the detriment of everyone else. Like
Yeah.
he doesn't care about you. He just doesn't want the world to end, which is kind of like
And cares about himself a lot.
A lot. Very true. But you know what? With that, let's get into like the weirder stuff that I think that you might have the problem with. I'm guessing it's fairy evil Disneyland that we end up going to with evil Alice in Wonderland.
I will say, like last week when we were talking, it was Paraguay that they went to.
Yeah.
I thought, which by the way, Animal, Vegetable, Mineral Man. I didn't realize
Yeah,
that was
everyone
I know.
corrected us.
Everybody was.
Animal,
Everyone
Vegetable, Mineral.
corrected us,
I thought
yeah.
that was why we didn't get extras in the last episode. Turns out maybe they were saving for this episode
Yeah.
because there's
I
so
guess.
many.
Things. I don't want to go first on this.
Okay,
one.
I'll go
Again
first.
with the yucking
Yeah.
of the young.
Well, one of the
Well, you get your yuck out, then we get our yum in.
Just all of it.
Okay.
there you go.
All,
all right.
all of it.
Well,
But I've liked when we've. Why am I okay going into a donkey's ass?
Mouth, please.
Yeah, fine.
come out the ass.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
can't.
there you go.
That's
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
But this for me was too much. I don't know.
The donkey
Mm-hmm.
farted out like that's
The
all, folks.
words.
It was- sorry,
I thought
that's
that
not
was,
what it was.
That
but-
was cool.
Yeah.
But this was
Interesting. Well, I mean, to each their own. But for me, I like the idea of like it's this like eye that's just gonna pop up in the middle of the sky. That's full comic book.
And
It's in
I-
every comic book ever.
I love that the way they filmed it looked like one of those like weirdly like a 70s or 80s like kids cartoon where you film an actual eye and then it opens and it's like, what fucking nightmare is this shit?
Also, we haven't mentioned it yet, but the priest with the stigmatas that become the eyes, and you're like, what in the
and that's the
world?
portal?
He is the portal to this other world, and I liked, and that also led to possibly learning more about Jane. Like maybe
Yeah.
something happened when she was an orphan.
Oh yeah, clearly
Question
she
mark?
has church issues.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, she has church
for
issues.
And
sure.
or at least Hammerhead does. We'll hopefully get into that in the next episode or very soon.
But I am confused about that because when you just said that Hammerhead does, that's where I'm starting to get confused in when the personalities started. Because it seems like the different personalities have different traumas, not different opinions on the same trauma. And I don't know whether this was caused by what was happening or this was always there and then
I would
you
throw
know what
out.
I mean?
Yeah, no, I get what you're meaning. I would throw out that Jane's been through multiple traumas, and that Hammerhead is the result of one of them as a defense mechanism, and Penny is antithesis of that, where it's that like basically she can only be angry for so long, where the rest of her personalities get actually physically exhausted with Hammerhead being out all the time and being so overly protective of her.
I think Jane doesn't trip me up so much because I don't perceive her as 64 whatever. I perceive her as one character, and each personality is an aspect of that character. I don't really lose myself trying to figure out who's what and why.
I'm losing myself a lot. I thought we figured out that Jane was not the OG character.
It was thrown out as a way to maybe mess with us and her, and it could be the truth. We just don't know.
Okay.
Yeah. Jane might not be... there might be somebody else that is the personality, but she's buried so far deep in the underground, it'll probably be a while to
like Kevin Crumb.
Kevin Crumb.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out to class.
Yeah. I think she's a very talented actress. I think some of the characters are fun. I'm struggling with her a lot. I didn't think I'd be struggling with her this much.
Because you watched Orange is the
Yeah,
New
love
Black.
her. I'm struggling with the actress. I'm struggling with the character.
I'd say
reading it is so different. Seeing it in a hour and a half, hour 45-minute movie is so different. Every week coming back and having to wonder whether one of your people is reliable or what version you're going to get. I want to start thinking of it as exciting, but right now I'm thinking of it as we get here and stop.
It's
Stop.
I could see that where it's like you think you make progress, but just kidding. They're actually 100% different from what we already established.
And they could do that for years.
Yeah.
Because they're 64.
No.
So they could literally do this to us for seasons and seasons, and I could never progress. So I'm hoping that that's not the case.
And they kind of wind it back a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have to have one personality for a whole episode, but maybe... I don't know. I understand you on that point. I think out of the Doom Patrol cast members, she's the one I'm the most not super excited about. But I
solid
like her.
on Robotman. I'm so solid on Cyborg, Elastigirl. Negative Man, I'm working on. I think we're getting there totally. And then with her, it's just like, okay, here we go.
But going into the weirdness, we have them go into this evil Disneyland area where you have these guards that kind of look like frogs wearing.
They look like Doctor Who villain of the week.
Oh yeah. And they have magical electrical sticks that short out Robotman. But this whole the mom and the dad were giant Queen of Heart clown people,
and Dad's throat still slit. Which, by the way, when we were pulling assets for the episode, we found a panel from the comic that's literally that.
Interesting.
Scene. Yeah.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah.
That was bizarro. The two of them sitting up there, and then maybe it's because of Gotham, but I've just been seeing so many Harley Quinn-esque people. It's
definitely because of Gotham.
It was. I was like, I've seen this 16 times this week. What's happening?
That's a weird place to be in your life.
It was weird.
But for me, this scene was amazing because I love the idea that it's this place might also not be real. It is a version of reality that the people that we saw in Salt Lake City are these people just manifested in our reality, but in their true self and from their reality, this is what they look like.
Exactly. And they're trying to, it's not even so much destroy the planet as have it be unmade.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, decreate was a word, which is great. Nonsense word, but a really great nonsense word. Well, it's interesting
with Doom Patrol, the comic, I know that Grant Morrison experimented with Dadaism and cut-up writing, which is where it was, where you would just literally take books and cut up the words and put them in different order, and he did that for a few issues. Yeah.
Does that work?
So he experimented with a lot of avant-garde writing styles, which I think it lends to that. Just mile a minute, just every big idea you can pause. When you're reading a Grant, Final Crisis is a good example. Is you'll read a word bubble and it's there's 15 different huge ideas just in this one little stretch right here.
So I'm just so confused. You take the words and you let them lie the way they are. It's kind of like a puzzle.
Yeah, it's kind of like a puzzle. You recreate. That's my understanding of it. By the way, I've not experimented with. I'm not as creative.
Should we do it together? Why don't we do an episode where we try to make one?
Let's try to write one story and we'll post it to the Patreon. We'll write a short story.
Yeah.
We'll get the basics.
You guys pick which book we cut up.
Yeah,
Mad Libs. There we go. And we'll cut up a book and we'll fit in the spaces with that. But
yes,
that actually sounds pretty fun. Fun road trip game. But coming back to that whole interaction with Robotman, Jane, or Penny, and the king and the dead, or the dead king and the queen, when they start talking about perception, I love that they throw Brendan Fraser in there, and also how he perceives himself. Where it's hey, deep down, don't you think that this is how you are? Where it's you're just a
an organ in a can.
Yeah, awful. His life is a nightmare. Also, how do you perceive Jane? How does she perceive you? How do you do this? And it's like, oh, I would never want this. I would never want this. I would
This
never.
is not a fun game.
This is not. I get why you guys want to be unmade, because if this is how you perceive the world, get out of here.
Yeah.
This is the worst.
More and more negative man's powers are seeming appealing.
Oh,
When you look at the other people.
Oh yeah.
Well, and speaking of negative man, we find out the chief got to interview sort of the thing inside of him, and the one word that comes out, because this is kind of an ominous episode, is torture. And the way I interpret that is that we've kind of seen Larry sees himself as a victim of this thing. The thing probably it seems to perceive it pretty similarly. Like, he is not a huge fan of being stuck to Larry Trainor.
I'm gonna guess that maybe that when they're like, "Uh-oh, is this an accident that ruined Larry's life?" I'm like, probably ruined its life too,
yeah.
and he is now permanently stuck. He's like, you know what? Maybe this isn't supposed to happen. Mm-hmm. This is a mess up for everybody in this situation, and he just wants to do good things, but he just has to live through Larry's stupid life where he just makes every wrong decision and ruins everyone in his own life, and it's torture, and I hope we can get that machine back. I like that this entity keeps trying to make Larry watch. It's like, hey, I'm in hell, and I can't do anything.
Yeah.
I get to sometimes pump the brakes for a second, but you get to be in the captain's seat.
What are we calling the entity?
The entity
Just
for right
the
now.
entity?
Usually
Negative man, it has a name.
Yeah.
I could look that
It's
up.
like a classic name with no vowels situation.
Oh.
I like the entity. I agree with almost every move the entity makes.
Yeah.
And I am relating to the entity more than I'm relating to Larry Trainor.
But I think that's really interesting that this voiceless entity, this thing that we refer to as the entity,
Because sometimes when
has
you
a
want to look at Larry
personality.
Trainor and you're like, don't do that, or you should go, or shut up, or
Yeah.
whatever, the entity feels that way. And I'm like, that's a pretty cool concept.
Yeah.
And I dig that.
So
So it's sometimes referred to as negative man or the negative spirit.
Yeah.
We'll go through it more and see if we can find like a name, because I'm sure there's a name
there
for this
is
thing.
a name.
For now, maybe we call it negative spirit.
Yeah,
There you go.
That makes
the
sense.
negative spirit. And we'll figure out the name. We'll get there. But
Horse with no name?
the horse with no name.
you go.
So what would we, wrapping everything up, what would you rate this episode, Roxy?
It has a name. It's called Keegbovo. Keegbovo. Keegbovo.
Keeg Bovo.
Keegbovo.
I'm going to not remember that.
I'm not going to either.
No promises. You know what? Actually, when we did our spoiler-free review, I gave this a 5.5, I believe.
Yeah.
But
And you're like, that's
hearing-
not low enough.
No. Hearing you guys talk about it and reminding myself the parts that I did like, I think it's actually a 6 for me.
Cool.
Okay,
Went
well,
up
I'm
a
glad
little
they went
bit,
up
yeah.
a little bit
Yeah.
higher. Talking about it more, I wanted to, really quick before I say my score, I want to say Negative Man's whole mystery
Yeah.
is becoming one of my favorite parts of this show. Actually, all of it is interesting to me. Rita just trying to figure out who she is. I would say that her, like, Cyborg's interactions with her in this episode weren't my favorite,
No.
but I like how
Last episode, great.
how she's talking to the boy, and how the boy's like, I could just kill myself, and she's like, well, you're not high enough to do that.
Oh,
And
yeah, the two
also
stories.
You'll break
it's-
a leg at best.
yeah, maybe an arm, and also it's not you being alive that makes this work.
We
So
have to burn you too.
Yeah, how miserable your life. I'm sorry, kid. You're in the same boat as everyone here. You have no powers. If anything, your life's just gonna be hell. Like I'm so
Yeah.
sorry. And I liked her interactions, and when I like Robotman trying to figure out like stuff about his daughter and what it means to be is he even alive?
Yeah.
Honestly, like, is he alive? But Negative Man's mystery of like, hey, let's figure out what's going on with the space ghost inside of you. I'm gonna call him space ghost.
That's actually great. I like that.
Bovo Bogo.
Keeg Bovo.
What was it?
Kevin Bacon.
Kevin
Bacon.
Bacon is inside of him. Wow.
No wonder he wants to get out. Footloose for sure. By the way, the
Torture.
the space ghost looked the best in this episode.
Yes.
Yes.
The Space Ghost is looking better as the show goes on.
Yeah. Anyways, I love this mystery, and I love the idea that we can. Larry's not a great person, but they can learn a lot about each other.
Yes.
I really am.
What would
on
you rate
board
that
with this.
episode?
9.5. I went
Agreed.
up. I was at 9. I'm at 9.5. I'm so on board. This weird magic stuff. I'm like, oh wait, I will say I do like Doctor Strange's like science-y look at dimensions and pulling energies in and stuff like that. I do like that spiritual aspect of it. But also when you go like full weird and just nonsense stuff, I'm like, yeah, I'm a horse with a nail in its head.
Like a railroad spike.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, I'm back to 5.5.
Oh no!
We lost it.
And I do love the men made out of dead skin cells and letters that aren't sent. That's so weird. I know. Of course that's words cut out of a magazine that you mixed together. That doesn't.
Well, but it's also a connection of ideas, those lost things, the things that. Anyway, like, could you imagine an episode of Doctor Who written by Grant Morrison?
Oh my god.
Yeah, we got one written by Neil Gaiman, which is actually one of my favorite Doctor Who episodes. It's the one where the TARDIS becomes the person.
That's Neil.
That's Neil Gaiman. Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah. So I also give this a 9.5 because I live for this. This type of storytelling is something I really love, and I'm very excited. I'm excited and nervous for the next episode because this did end on a cliffhanger, and it's like don't lose me with the second episode.
Yeah.
Like, this was so great.
Really
Don't lose me.
Keep it tight.
Yeah.
Keep it going.
What if I'm already a little lost?
By the way, God bless Doom Patrol for letting their episodes be like 40 minutes, 45 minutes. They're not like,
Yeah.
oh, we have unlimited runtime. Let's have this be an hour 15. Like, no, just keep it. Tell the story you're telling, and let's keep going.
Also, big shout out for Brendan Fraser and Matt Bomer for actually being on this show.
I'm happy
I'm
how
so
much they're actually in
surprised.
it.
Yeah, like I
I'm
get you.
surprised, too.
Also, hey, you guys don't need to be in the bandages or in the suit running around in the heat. You don't have. You've earned it. You don't need to do that. But I'm so happy that you guys are invested. You are characters. You are acting in this show. I love you guys.
I see them doing
so good to see you.
I see them doing a lot of press for it and
Me
everything.
too. I think
yeah.
they like the show.
That's good because it's a good
Yeah,
show.
yeah.
It's a really good show, and if you guys aren't watching it, also, I need a shout out again. I love a good opening credits sequence, and theirs is so cool, and the
Yes.
music is amazing. The music in the show is so cool too. Anyways, we go on this for so long. We're going to be doing more of these reviews. Hope you enjoy, but make sure you subscribe down below. Also, like and comment your favorite moments from this episode. How's the magic going for you? Or is it too weird for you? Do you want it to be weirder? Are you a big fan of the oi in the sky? Blink, blink. Let us know in the comments down below. But also, you can check out our Patreon, which is right on a rock. See?
Got
A little
your
further, a
nose
little
again.
further, a little further. No, wait, no, a little closer, a little closer. Boom, it's right there. And also, over here, you can click right over there. Also, I put a poll up there sometimes.
What?
Check it out. Go ahead and click it out.
You know how people like hold the pizza?
Yeah, you're holding
Am
it.
I doing-
Little lower,
pizza
little lower,
time.
little lower, little lower, little lower. Pizza time. There you go. But really quick, at
Go
Roxy
lower.
Stryer, at DJ Talks Trash, at Sam Basher, and at Only Stupid Answers.
You ain't got the bells from stupid.
Patreon.com has a lot of goodies that you guys don't want to miss out on because we have a lot of new stuff coming out, so make sure you check that out. Also, OnlyStupidAnswers.com for merch. You can listen to the podcast there when it comes out Mondays and other stuff. We love you guys, and we'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.